In zero defect will have his hands full today with the challenge from Jack Carmody's Carlos and Charlie's and the V-hull and raw power of Reggie Fountain's Ohio Steel. With the flat water, this could be a real drag race. Prime Network presents the Fountain Powerboat's APBA Offshore Series. The second stop of the series is the Hooters Fort Myers Beach Offshore Grand Prix. The series is brought to you by Fountain Powerboats. When we race on Sunday, you win on Monday. The sand and surf of Fort Myers Beach, Florida. Hello, everyone. Art Ekman with another exciting round of offshore powerboat racing. The Florida Sun Coast has long been known for its support of offshore racing, more than 2 decades worth. The waters of the Gulf of Mexico here are relatively calm, creating a fast playground for these powerful machines. This is the Hooters Grand Prix. Their net proceeds have been earmarked for a valuable charity, the Shriners Hospital for Crippled Children. Right now, let's go down to Connie Willis and Rich Lures. They're in the pits.
Thanks, Art. We're going to see an exciting race today. Nearly 50 boats, 8 different classes here. It's a hot day, but we've got a flat, fast course. Our expert here, Rich Lures, what do we expect?
Well, thank you, Connie. We expect to see speed, lots of speed, calm seas, lots of horsepower, world-class fleet, the perfect combination for top speed.
Speaking of fleet, the spectators' fleet saw a whole nother side of the race yesterday.
They saw the backside of the race. The whole A-class went behind the spectator fleet, with one exception, came back onto the race course, continued the race.
More problems yesterday, C-class.
C-class. The national champions, the Harrah's Megabucks team, broke down finally after 14 consecutive victories. They're back today.
All right, in the D-class. All right, thank you very much. Art, where are you?
Right here, Connie. It's always an outstanding crowd here at Fort Myers Beach, Florida for this event. Let's take a look at the course now. Out here in the Gulf, the boats will travel from the start-finish line east, a little over 2 miles, to turn number 1. A dogleg south, and then they'll continue almost 2 miles for 2 quick right-hand turns at buoys 2A and 2B. The fleet will then head north for 5 miles to turn 3A, and then another quick right-hand turn at 3B back to the start-finish line to complete this 9-mile course. And with this flat water, it should be a fast race. We talked with Joanna's Bruce Sperling about setting up his 38-foot fountain for flat water.
We put on different props, and we just run the drives out farther, leave the tabs up. You just pretty much up in the air as much as you can, get the boat out of the water. In the rough water, you pull that front end down and keep it dug in.
13 boats in the Class A field, including A-10 Flashpoint.
3 firemen from Fort Lauderdale.
A-41 Baby won in Galveston.
Sure did. The European design, the Rain-X Express, a bat boat. And Power Play Racing, the Sullivans in that Dan Weinstein design.
Running earlier, it was such a competitive field as we see the start here with Optical Illusion, Pure Energy, Subluxator. What a great start on this race.
What a wonderful race. There are 13 boats in the class, and they're all competitive and all very closely matched here at the beginning.
Subluxator, the white boat, really bringing each other. Here comes Baby.
Here comes Baby, that Buzzi design from Italy, showing a lot of speed early on, but some of those boats are hanging right with them, Art.
Father-son team right now, Paul and Mark Nimshoff.
Look at Subluxator out. It's leading right now.
And the bat boat on the top of the screen, the yellow boat, taking over the lead.
The bat boat has top-end speed, no doubt about it. Counter-rotating propellers running very, very smooth in very, very flat seas.
Rain-X Express, better known as the bat boat, their regular driver Ed Salagi hurting his back in the race in Galveston. Mark Flaminglio is driving that one, and what a competition we've got with Baby and Rain-X Express.
Two of the imported designs, the Baby in the lead at the first checkpoint. Sitting very, very nicely, very smooth running boat right now in very calm seas. It's amazing a boat this long in waters like this still has top-end speed.
Here comes Rain-X Express giving Baby a real tussle. Both machines have one 700 horsepower engine in them, and they are winding out.
That horsepower is bringing the bat boat to life. She's flying right now on those wings and going right by the Baby.
Bill McComb from Sarasota, Florida, is the throttle man there as we take a look now at Subluxator. These 3 gentlemen are standing in the boat like the old days.
Yeah, the first traditional A boat is hanging right there with those 2 new designs, doing very well. And there's a problem here, Art. I see the spectator fleet in the background.
The leaders have gone astray, and everyone's following them.
The whole fleet, with one exception, is on the wrong side of the spectator fleet. Technically, that means they have missed a checkpoint, and they'll all be penalized one lap. Another thing comes into play here. They cannot go through the spectator fleet on plane. It looks like Baby is electing to go all the way around.
Yes, and here's Pure Energy right now, the 26-foot thoroughbred with one 650-horsepower exact performance engine.
They found their way back onto the course, but they've lost some time. A2 Pittman Photo as well, trying to make up time from going through the spectator fleet.
Give credit where credit is due. Flashpoint, the only boat to go the correct way.
Yes, the firemen from Fort Lauderdale found their way around the course, and here's Team Thoroughbred. This boat is normally a Thoroughbred, but for this race, it's a Sutphin A27, hanging beautifully.
And that 26-foot Thoroughbred was runner-up at the season's opener in Galveston. We'll have the finishing highlights of the A-Class coming up. Welcome back to Fort Myers Beach, where the locals hosted a street party to celebrate the arrival of the offshore boats. The proceeds going to the Shriners Hospital for crippled children. Hundreds of people of all ages came out for the event. And it was fun seeing the offshore boats up close. Enjoy different types of food, of course, including those great Hooters wings. And lots of entertainment. Music and dancing into the evening provided a memorable time for all. The festival also created a field day for the local media. But the center of attention was out toward the water right now as we take a look at Class A highlights. Rain-X Express out in front of Baby. The two innovative boats once again out in front, but not quite the competitive status.
Well, Baby seems to have lost a couple of miles an hour. I think he used up part of his power plant getting back on course.
The 28-footer Optical Illusion.
Art, that has twin outboard power, holding up the tradition of outboard racing in offshore. They are giving away quite a bit of horsepower, but boats like this one, the Performance Marine, this power play is a faster, more highly powered boat, and the Sullivans have her trimmed beautifully right now.
Trimmed the most beautiful of all, though. Out in front right now is Rain-X Express, headed down toward the finish line to get the checkered flag. 28-foot Swedish-designed boat, relying so heavily on that wing structure for balance. So is Rain-X Express the winner of the Class A division, with Baby not far behind, 68.58 miles an hour. Sublexator in third, but of course Flashpoint would have won the race, the only boat to navigate correctly when the others went behind the spectator fleet, but Flashpoint didn't finish the race. As Rain-X Express took the victory lap, Rich had a chance to speak with the chief referee to try to clarify things.
Mike Tomlinson, some controversy in A-Class. What's the final decision?
Well, Rich, as you know, we had some boats this afternoon cut through the spectator fleet. As they came around turn 3, they drifted wide. They followed the lead boat. They went through the spectator fleet and traversed the course along the backside of the spectator fleet. Some of the boats then turned back through the spectator fleet, and some continued on around and around the end of the course and entered the course again in a normal fashion. The penalty I issued was a 10-minute time penalty for each entry that went through the spectator fleet initially, which was 11 boats. There were 12 boats in the class. The only boat that did not receive a penalty would have won that race was the last place boat, and he broke down and didn't finish the race, therefore didn't affect the outcome of the race.
Rain-X Express living up to its expectations as an innovative boat. We got a chance to talk with Bill McComb.
It was a drag race out there today. It was hard staying ahead of the other boats.
You had your hands full first lap or two with that Bootsy boat, didn't you?
Yes, we did. It was hard staying ahead of them, and we were just fortunate enough to take the turns real well and keep the throttle all the way down.
Lap 1, there seemed to be some navigational problems.
Well, we were actually behind on the first lap, and we followed the other boat, Baby, and they went on the outside. We went on the outside. Then we pulled ahead of them, and we looked up after all the excitement, and we found out we were on the wrong side of the spectator fleet, and everybody else was as well. Everybody followed us except for one other boat, and we came down off plane, and we found a big opening, and we went through, and we made it around all the marks.
A first lap casualty, Ale House Racing being towed in. We'll have the highlights of the BC and stock boats coming up next. We're back in Fort Myers Beach. It isn't like driving up to the corner gas station to fuel these offshore racing machines. Mark Klein gives us some insight.
We go to all the boat races, as you know. We sell high-octane leaded racing fuels. They range from 100 to 120 octane, and the price from $2.85 to $6 a gallon.
Why would a racer go up in octane?
Well, it depends on the compression ratio of the engine. The higher the compression ratio, the more need for octane.
And at $2 to $6 per gallon, how many gallons would these guys use?
The boats would take between 50 for an A-class boat and 450 or 500 gallons for some of the open boats here.
Oh, Rich, I'm glad my wife doesn't have a VP card, that's for sure. As we take a look at the three divisions that'll be in our next race, the B division, C, and stock. Here's Megabucks, not used to losing any races. They're pretty good.
Camposano Marine back after an accident in an early season race.
And Cutting Edge, winner in Galveston now, as they're all lined up for our highlights. S1 on the inside, Camposano Marine, the 25-foot skater, looks like it has the edge on a good start.
Art, these conditions, calm, smooth water, are ideal for the outboard powered cats. These guys have 110 to 120 mile an hour capability. They're using every bit of it, as we see Camposano flat out flying.
And the 30-foot motion team stocker right there with him, with Craig Morris and Tim Steiner.
Just look at the way these boats are hanging. They're packing air between their tunnels. They're trimmed beautifully. There's no waves to worry about. The boats are going as fast as they possibly can.
Oh, this is an unbelievable race right now with Koosman Outcast on the outside and Camposano on the inside.
We're in a drag race to the first turn, using all the speed that they can muster. They're bow handle to bow handle. There is no advantage right now in the S-Class.
It was a real treat to the fans, not only the battle out front, but also the battle for 4th and 5th, Cutting Edge and Team Bermuda.
All of these S-boats are just so evenly matched today.
One having trouble, Megabucks.
The Harris Megabucks team working on 15 wins, having difficulty getting started as risk taker with a brand new driver, Diane Young and Andrew Engel, making a bold move in the C-Class in her very first race. As a matter of fact, in the background, we see Zero Gravity breaking down also early on, leaving the lead to the risk taker.
Out in front of the S division, meanwhile, was Koosman's Outcast and Camposano. They just went back and forth the entire race, Rich.
Art, when you get two boats that are as evenly matched as these two, it makes for wonderful racing, especially when they can run at their maximum speed all the way around the course. The course is very calm, and these boats have tremendous top speed to call on and to use around the race course.
And they're both getting great top speeds, about 75 miles an hour out of those two 200-horsepower engines. Here's the battle for 4th and 5th. Cutting Edge and Team Bermuda on the inside, number 747.
Another example of the tightly matched stock boats. They have identical outboard power, very similar hulls, close racing.
Team DeLand Honda, the 38-foot Velocity with two 550-horsepower engines.
You know, Art, only a few years ago, this boat would have been a full-fledged open boat.
This sport has certainly developed amazingly over the years. Miscalculation.
Gary DeSoucies and Steve Miklos, a late entry, hammering around the course early on in the race. Joanna, after their victory in Galveston in the rougher water, they're finding these calm seas not so much to their liking. It's a big boat. They give away something in the flat seas.
A 38-foot Fountain, and then I Love Muscle, a 33-foot power play with two 650-horsepower engines.
First-time race, first-time racers, getting the feel of the boat as they run around the course and getting stronger by the lap.
Fun in the sun and sea in Fort Myers Beach, Florida, at least for some. We'll be back in a moment.
We are back at Fort Myers. Hi, everybody. I'm Connie Willis, getting to walk the sweet, white, soft sands of Fort Myers Beach. This is known as the Florida Suncoast, which is the west side of Florida, also a part of the famous Barrier Islands. Throughout the world, Fort Myers Beach is known as a vacation destination. Fort Myers offers a sunny and warm climate all year long. Renowned for its beaches and famous for its incredible sunsets. It's ideally suited for families, with major attractions not too far away. Famous for the secluded beaches and fabulous sunset dining experiences, Fort Myers Beach has it all.
Back to highlights of some of the best racing on the day from Fort Myers Beach.
The Risk Taker, 32-footer, they peeled the middle engine off of it, made it a twin-engine boat, put it in the C class, and today that's the perfect combination because this boat, 15-race winner Harris, has broken down early on. They're barely limping around the course. At the same time, Roger Rex and Zero Gravity broke down. They're out of the race completely. That has left the class wide open for Diane Young and the Risk Taker to just cruise to the lead.
Not many times in offshore racing do we see this tight of race the entire distance. Campesano and Kuzman's Outcast along with Team Stocker in the S division, but it's coming down to Campesano and Kuzman's Outcast.
These boats have been flat out all day long, and it's been very, very tight racing. It's beautiful racing.
The throttleman probably could go to sleep.
Yeah, today is not a throttle man's race, it's a driver's race. It's just put the thing on full speed and hang in there.
The flat water presenting a different type of taxing on the equipment.
Yeah, we're checking out rigging and the engine builders' work today. The engines are flat out. They're burning up the course.
Miscalculation in third place.
Also burning up the course, and look who's flying by them. I Love Muscle on the inside. This brand new team really getting the feel right now. They're flying.
David Branch and Ed McCabe out of Sarasota, Florida. Of course, looking forward to the next race of our series in Sarasota.
And they have muscled their way to the win in the B class. First time race, first checkered flag.
A look back at miscalculation. Third place in the B division right now, and he's getting a big charge right there. Risk Taker, the lead C-boat, passing miscalculation. Diane Young doing a wonderful job, and here was the results from the B class. I Love Muscle averaging 71.44 miles an hour. The winning team of the huge cheering section. First race, first win, and working his way to the pit area to meet the winners, Rich Lures.
B-class victory, first time out.
First time out. Love it. We were just so enthusiastic. It was a great race. We had a great time, a great boat, power play, the great hull, Innovation Marine made this boat everything it is. It's a fast boat.
Okay, next race, what do you do better?
We're only hoping next time that there's more people out there so we can pass a few more. It's quite the victory out there for us. But most of all, we'd like to thank Fort Myers for having this great race. Absolutely. A great town. It's been a great time for us down here in our rookie race.
Fort
and we
Myers.
look forward to coming back next year and racing again.
Definitely.
Are we happy?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's time to party now, right? Another happy group, of course, the supporters of Risk Taker, the C-class winner. Diane Young getting a hug from the hubby.
And also laying down a challenge. He has to race later in the Pro Stock class.
The changes in Risk Taker are certainly paying off today. Connie Willis asked Diane about her premiere in offshore racing.
Yes, and my rookie race. And so, you know, we really set out to finish the race and learn a lot. And something was right, because it worked.
When did you know you were going to do it?
Well, you really don't think about that until the very end, you know, and we watched real carefully to see who was getting the flag and who wasn't. Our intent was not necessarily to pick up the flag today, but hey, we'll take it.
Absolutely, a well-deserved victory, but a much tighter battle, of course, was in the stock division.
National champion Rich Ginsburg and Todd DeRiva in the Campesano Insurance Cat scratched and clawed their way to the lead and the ultimate victory in the stock class.
Able to break away just in the final lap as they put their fist in the air after the checkered flag flew. Kuzman's Outcast, a great try.
And as we look at the results in the stock class, we see the winner, Campesano Marine, just barely edging out Kuzman's Outcast. Team Stalker right there, Team Bermuda Cutting Edge, the closest race so far.
Rich had a chance to talk with our winners.
Rich, fantastic job. Exactly the way you laid it out right before the race.
Well, it's the only way it could have happened in order for us to be as competitive as we were today. The boat had to come together. Todd did the driver of the year already in one race. The way he kept these guys to the outside, it was a total team effort here. The competition was stiff. Those guys from Kuzman and the guys from Stalker, they were breathing down our neck the whole way. If you notice, we were looking over our shoulder the whole way around the course every lap.
I'd get in here. Was that the tightest racing you ever saw?
that was awesome. I mean, it was just every time I turn around, there was the fork of another boat right there next to us. We could reach out and touch somebody. It was just, oh man, I'm speechless. It was great. I just can't believe it.
Gets even more exciting when it's such a very close race. Earlier, we heard about the top priority of safety. Another concern of offshore racing is the environment.
In today's environmentally aware society, motorsports are frequently misunderstood. Offshore racing, with all of its big horsepower and huge engines, is actually an environmentally friendly activity. One of the most dramatic symbols of powerboat racing are the towering rooster tails. These beautiful plumes are formed when the propellers churn up the water's surface, creating a supermix of air and water. This aeration creates a clean environment and prevents stagnation and the creation of unhealthy bacteria. Another area of concern in southern waters is the protection of marine life. Each offshore race features rescue helicopters with trained personnel who keep a watchful eye for manatees and sea turtles. Races have been stopped or diverted to protect these and other precious creatures. Even the simple task of washing the boats and engines is carefully controlled. The RGF environmental system uses this pad to collect water runoff and reprocesses it through a 100% closed-loop system to create reusable wash water on a continuous basis. In the case of a catastrophic engine failure, this system right here absorbs all of the fluids and oils in the bilge for safe disposal later on. The next time an offshore race boat roars by, relax, admire the rooster tail, and rest assured there's no harm being done to Mother Earth.
Coming up next from Fort Myers Beach, the Pro Outboards in D-Class.
What do you think of APBA offshore racing? Wouldn't you love to race one of these boats? The speed, the prestige, shoot, the pure fun of it. Well, let's see if what's in my pocket can do the trick. Don't think so. Let's look in your pocket to see if you can do it. First, you'll need to start with a hull and deck. One like this 46-foot skater of zero defect. This will cost about $300,000. Once you have the hull, you'll need to have it rigged, which includes all the hardware, wiring, and electronics. This cost in the neighborhood of $60,000. And to power your new boat, you'll need 2 engines and 2 spares at $50,000 each. To push your boat through the water, you're going to need a set of stern drives and a backup set at $40,000 a pair. Then, to the stern drives, you'll add your new props at a cost of about $2,000 each pair. $4,000 for a set of 2, but you'll need to keep 5 sets in reserve, another $20,000. You now have a new race boat. The fuel to run this powerful machine will cost $800 per race, and there are 10 races a year. Now, you'll need a tractor and trailer to pull your boat and support equipment around. You're looking at $140,000. And your support trailer, with all that it holds, would cost $250,000. Oh, now wait a minute, because there's more. To manage and handle all the equipment for your new boat, you'll need a crew, and that will run about $25,000 per race. This includes salaries, travel, food, etc. Now, if you choose, you can have a helicopter and crew to keep track of your boat on the race course at a cost of $2,500 per race. And that's not all. Adding to all this equipment, you'll need another $60,000 in toys and merchandise for marketing, PR, and to use around the race sites. And according to my figures, this will cost you almost $1,400,000 to own and campaign your new race boat. I'm here with Laith Ferrone right now, the owner of all the toys that you saw here with zero defect, and also the driver. I want to make an offer. I want to do what you're doing. So I'm going to make you an offer, okay? You say yay or nay to this, all right?
You're on. All yours.
For everything?
Everything. But I get to drive.
Oh, Connie, that won't even buy you an ice cream bar these days. $10? Oh, business is booming on the beach, though. And coming up from Fort Myers Beach, Florida, the D-Class and Pro Outboards, as we see here.
Featuring 2 step-ups, the Harris Megabucks and Zero Gravity. We'll develop that later on.
In the Pro Outboards, let's start it off with the defending champions, Harmsco Hurricane, the 32-foot skater, and Hostile Takeover, 36 skater.
P4 Restore, driver Roy Young, his wife laid down a challenge, and Charlie Hames on the throttles. P7 Patriot, Roger Taylor and Bob Hamlin, last year's second-place boat.
B-45 Kamikaze Offshore, featuring 3 300-horsepower Mercury engines, and Venus Swimwear. They've been around the game a long time in sponsorship, this time on a 35-foot motion.
We're coming down for the start of the combined Pro Outboard and D class. The idea now is for the start boat to get these boats straight across so that they can drop the flag and begin the race.
Not much room between them as they get up to race speed. The green flag is on. Harmsco Hurricane closest to us. Second boat in is Velocity, and they're closely bunched.
Now, the Harmsco Hurricane is the smallest boat in the Pro Outboard class and also the fastest. Today's conditions, virtually no wind and very, very small wave action, really favors that hull.
Harmsco Hurricane with a great start. Velocity in there too, and Restore and Pepsi Taco Bell up toward the top of your screen. Zeroing in on D38 Velocity with 2 850 horsepower engines, and back to the Hurricane.
The Hurricane is trimmed out and flying right at this point in time. And the Velocity is chine walking from side to side. They're trimmed to the max right now, trying to pull every last mile an hour out of there. It's causing some handling problems.
And also Restore is getting pretty close on the right side. Look out. Our camera's out in front now with the leader, Harmsco Hurricane. We've got reports coming in.
Got a collision, We're going down, And go to the ankle bumper right on top of it.
That was race control radio. We've got a big problem, a collision, you heard it. Velocity and Restore.
A big problem. Restore is upside down. Zero gravity is pulled out of the race. You can see the driver and throttle man diving right into the water to effect a rescue. And we're looking at Restore upside down on the race course.
The paramedics helicopter now hovering above. They're waiting to see exactly where they want to drop in, and they're going down.
The timing's so important. They're here within seconds of the accident. Being underwater, timing is everything in a drowning scenario. You have 2 divers coming out of the helicopter. There is oxygen on board the boat. So at this particular time, the question is, can we get these guys out of there? How fast and how safely? You see, other boats have stopped on the course to effect it to help the rescue efforts.
The paramedics, you can see why they're nicknamed the Stires as we look at Restore, still upside down, and it looks like we got some heads bobbing in the water.
Yes, we do. Both Charlie Hames and Roy Young are floating, and also in a very big piece of sportsmanship, one of the drivers from Zero Gravity is in there helping as well.
Let's check a replay and race reports.
Preliminary on the cause of the accident would be the Velocity boat actually came out of his race line, hooked into P4, impacted it, therefore caused the flip.
And of course, out in the water right now, cause is a minor thing. It appears, though, that everyone is okay from our vantage point, and at that speed, that's incredible, Rich.
Yes, and the boat is virtually undamaged as well, Art. It was a big collision, but hopefully everything's going to turn out all right.
Well, we'll resume action from Fort Myers Beach when we return.
Bring the world's most demanding motorsport right into your home. Offshore racing is the most spectacular powerboating event in the world. Call 1-800-890-0096 to order this American Powerboat Association offshore race for only $19.95. That's plus shipping and handling, or buy the entire 96 APBA Offshore Racing Series, a collection of 7 videos, and get the final tape free. That's right, absolutely free. Act immediately. Send your check or money order to the address on your screen, or call 1-800-890-0096.
Art Ekman, Connie Willis, and Rich Lures. We're back in Fort Myers Beach, Florida. Earlier, we saw the jump paramedics in action when P4 got into trouble. Well, Connie checks out this sport's top priority, safety.
Safety is very important when it comes to offshore racing. Check this out. Got my harness, my inflatable vest, my helmet, my gloves, amongst some other things here. Looks like I'm pretty well covered, but what if something still happens? What do? Well, you look to the stars.
We're an organization that formed in 1983 to provide rescue for powerboat racing events in North America.
That's the voice of Jim Poplin, who heads up the Stars. I asked him how many medical helicopters he'll have for this race.
At this particular race, we'll have 2 aircraft flying the races.
And how many are on board the helicopter?
In each helicopter, there's 2 jump medics and an observer. For offshore racing, we have smaller scuba tanks, buoyancy control devices, belt cutters, and things of that nature if we have to make an underwater extrication. And then the divers go in with just a emergency pack, a bandage and airways and things of that nature, so that at least we can start some type of stabilization of the participant until we get a medical boat in there to assist us. And then there it just becomes a joint venture where everybody starts working together.
Tell me about that dunker.
We put them in a race scenario. The capsule is designed to simulate someone that is strapped in a boat. We put them in it, strap them in a race situation. We invert the dunker, or what we call turtle test, and they've got to stay in the dunker for a certain amount of seconds, going through all the steps, making sure that they're breathing okay on the air, and then they get out, they exit out of the boat in a proper manner. Now, if they don't come out in the right way, we just told them, you know, they didn't make it that time, you know, they failed the test, so they got to come back and do it again.
Here's a look at the rescue of Restore earlier. I asked Jim about the Stars' success.
We've had our fair share of serious accidents, and we have our share of some good recoveries. We've been very, very fortunate. We've had some serious accidents, and we've had people that we actually saved, which is, you know, part of a job, part of what we want to do. And it's been good. It's been fruitful.
Well, I know a couple of racers that'll agree with him.
Absolutely. Today's racers in particular, Charlie Hames and Roy Young.
Let's resume action now as we take a look at the Cobra Power leaderboard. Harmsco Hurricane out in front with Patriot, winner at Galveston in second.
And the Harmsco Hurricane is in a world of its own right now. They chose a smaller boat. They actually have a smaller one on shore that was supposed to debut today, but they couldn't quite get it ready. But this one is plenty fast enough.
And plenty fast enough in the D-Class right now is Pepsi Taco Bell. 2 680 horsepower engines coming up on Harmsco Hurricane.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that much horsepower in a 35-foot cat running next to an outboard powered 32, and how similar their speed is. The average speed so far has been virtually identical between these two boats. The inboard does it in spurts, whereas the outboard can maintain the speed.
Here's Patriot, the 35-foot motion with 300 horsepower Mercury outboards.
Patriot Bob Hamlin and Roger Taylor running in second place after a string of second place finishes last year.
Right, second in the Worlds, and Roger says we're out to do better this year.
Kamikaze.
Art Ekman, Connie Willis, Rich Lures from Fort Myers, Florida, as we get set for lots of power coming up, Rich.
Lots of power coming up the big classes, open and modified. In the modified class, Carlos and Charlie's. Driver Rodney Rudell healed from that slight miscue back in Galveston. M77 Flyer with Jim Horn driving.
Now for the open division, Sudden Impact with 2 950 horsepower engines to motivate that boat. Carlos and Charlie's, that's the other Carlos and Charlie's. This one in the open class with Jack Carmody.
Zero defect. Driver Leith Ferrone, fresh off a season-beginning victory at Galveston, Texas. And Ohio Steel is here with Reggie Fountain in that big 46-foot fountain.
The starting boat has the modifieds, and the open's up to speed right now. You see zero defect on the inside as we look at the line. Carlos and Charlie's modified, then the open Carlos and Charlie's, then Ohio Steel. As they are underway, it's Ohio Steel taking the lead.
It sure is. These are the big bangers, and he's the biggest banger here. 3,000 horsepower in that big V-bottom. But look at zero defect, 2,000 horsepower, but a catamaran. A catamaran will fly on air and get a lot more speed than the V.
Boy, the Reggie Fountain crew has done some work on Ohio Steel.
They certainly have. He's been working on this boat for 18 months. This is the best it has ever looked. Tremendous acceleration off the start. Made a big move for the lead, but look at zero defect. The legs are getting longer. The speed is building. This boat has a lot of top end. It's going to be a handful for Reggie Fountain to hold him off.
In the open division, the Carlos and Charlie's used to be mixed emotion. At Galveston, anyway. New paint job. Same sponsors.
New paint job to match the sponsor, Carlos and Charlie's. Jack Carmody, the owner, owns this boat as well. Carlos and Charlie's the modified boat. Two beautiful boats, and in the modified class, this is the boat to beat. World record holder, 131 miles an hour last winter. But right now, he's got his hands full with Jim Horn's Flyer.
M77. That's Flyer, a 41-foot Apache with two 850 horsepower engines as we zero in on Jim Horn and Dean Dworkin.
This race right from the start has been very, very close. But look at Zero Defect. He has taken the lead. He's gone by Reggie Fountain in the big fountain. He's running all by himself now in that big 46-foot skater.
He looks just as perfect as he did in Galveston in round number 1.
You know, he repowered this year. He got himself about 20% more power. Reggie Fountain in second place with the big Ohio Steel. And again, this boat in calm water, a big V-bottom like this wants rough water. It's amazing that today he's got as much speed as he has in these calm conditions, Art.
Oh, and all the time they've put into this boat, especially in Galveston, just to get it running. But to have it halfway competitive here, that's really a job.
And the Carlos and Charlie's number 38, 40-foot skater. Second race for this team in a catamaran. Art Lilly, the dean of V-bottom throttlement. Jack Carmody stepped out of his 42-foot fountain V-bottom. They're getting the hang of this boat now.
Well, it was really a good learning experience in Galveston. They got stronger as the race progressed, Rich.
They did. And here's the other boat in the Carlos and Charlie stable. Neck and neck with the Flyer. M77 currently holding the lead. A slight lead over the fastest V-bottom in the world, Carlos and Charlie's.
You think they might be saving it a little bit, Carlos and Charlie's, with these conditions? Oh, we've got a boat in trouble.
Well, Carlos and Charlie's open boat didn't save enough of it. Looks like they've thrown a propeller. They're out of the race.
Oh, that's going to be so disappointing for Jack Carmody and Art Lilly, who are just getting things together, learning together. And they were racing so well. So they'll have to look forward now to Sarasota, our next stop on the APBA Tour. Well, not as musical as bizarre, but we'll be back with lots of great racing action in a moment. Welcome back to Fort Myers Beach, Florida, long known as the summer homes of Edison and Ford, but right now it's the home of the second stop of the Fountain APBA Offshore Series Tour. The open and modified boats on the course right now as we take a look at the Cobra Power leaderboard. Zero Defect is on top of the open class, and in the modified class it's Carlos and Charlie's. Good steady performance, Rich.
Certainly is. It's been very hot racing so far, matching the hot weather. The question now is, will the engine survive the day? We have a very, very hot day. We have very high speeds. That frequently spells cooked engine compartments.
Zero Defect looking very smooth on the first race of the year, averaging 89 miles an hour. But what kind of speeds are they reaching on the flat water?
The flat water today, Art, I think you're seeing speeds well over 115 miles an hour. And that's well below Zero Defect's top speed. The boat is probably capable of 135 or better.
Ohio Steel in second place, still looking fast.
Ohio Steel full of horsepower, 3,000 horsepower, 46 feet long, 10,000 pounds, and running around this race course in speeds averaging close to 100 miles an hour.
What does it feel like to go over a wake like that?
In a boat that big, it's a very slight ripple. It's the big waves offshore that really get these boats flying.
And probably Ohio Steel would like more of the big stuff.
Ohio Steel certainly would like to see bigger seas today. At that 10,000-pound weight, he's severely limited in these very flat seas. It won't break the hull as loose as he'd like it to be.
Racing in the modified division, as you can see, couldn't be much better right now, but Carlos and Charlie's inching ahead, putting the power to it.
More than inching ahead, Carlos and Charlie's is dropping the hammer right now on the Flyer. Jim Horn and crew have to make some kind of a move now to answer that. Carlos and Charlie's with an awful lot of horsepower.
It seems to me with only two 850 horsepower engines in this particular craft, he's going to have to make a strategic move rather than a power move.
And he better move now because we're getting down towards the finish of the race, and it looks like Carlos and Charlie's, well, just backing off a little bit, and here comes Flyer back up on him, trying to push him hard enough to break him.
Rodney Riddell from Clear Lake, Texas, and Kurt Harbor, the throttle man from Seabrook, Texas.
Jim Horn out of Lighthouse Point, Florida, as well as Dean Dworkin from Aventura, Florida, in the Flyer.
Now, as we get close to the turn buoy, we see some strategy underway. Two different lines.
As we look at those lines, it's so clear in a boat. The two wakes, two totally different lines. The Flyer started way outside and dove the turn, came in very close to the pin, whereas the Carlos and Charlie's was content to stay further outside and use the extra horsepower they have in tightening up the turn.
Now will Flyer have to back off because they're set up for a wider turn here?
No, they didn't. Both of these crews know their boats. They know what lines to take and how to take the maximum advantage of the turns depending upon the power curve and the size of the boats.
Carlos and Charlie's having some fun with their sister ship in Galveston right now, have their hands full. It's more than just fun. With Flyers, you can see Flyer on the upside.
The Flyer Apache is more than holding its own this race. It's been 4 consecutive laps now where they've been basically bow handle to bow handle.
We'll be back with more of the Fountain Powerboat APBA Offshore Series in a moment. We are back. Modified boats. Bow to bow right now, as exciting as they are and as fast. Whoa, look at that, zero defect.
Somebody called John Tomlinson and Leif Ferrone home for dinner. They're flying. They are way up there in speed right now, coming down to the finish, and they're going to take the checkered flag here for the win in open class.
Zero defect does it again. 2 wins in a row in 2 rounds of our series.
Anybody be able to catch these fellas this year?
Ohio Steel, it's a commendable effort for Reggie Fountain's crew in 2nd place, getting this boat up and up to speed.
Reggie did a lot of work between races. This boat was very competitive today, and considering the conditions, did very well.
Zero defect, our winner, and look at the average speeds per lap. That's getting up there, 94.68 miles an hour. Leif Ferrone, very happy right now as he's got the checkers in hand.
Leif Ferrone, so dedicated to winning. He's got the checkered flag, 2 tries this year, 2 wins. He's getting very used to waving that flag. Modified class coming down for the finish. It's a close one. And Carlos and Charlie's finishing before Flyer to take a well-deserved victory.
Carlos and Charlie's a very steady, fast race all the way after getting lots of heat from his competition.
Carlos and Charlie's a classic race strategy. Slow enough to finish, fast enough to win.
There you see their average speed, 68.92 miles an hour. Exactly what you mentioned, Rich, as we see now the open boat, zero defect with the checkered flag, and right behind them, Carlos and Charlie's.
Winners coming back to the pier with their checkered flags flying high.
Our open class standings now after 2 races, zero defect, a perfect 205 points. Connie Willis now is with our winners.
You did it.
Well, you know, it's a team effort, you know. I mean, without one, you don't have the other. So the chemistry there is good, and yeah, we did what we had to do.
You were like out front the whole time.
That's the idea, no? Just get out there and stay out there.
Now, you made some changes yesterday, and you sped it up just a wee bit. Are you glad that you did that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't forget, we are a big boat. We're a 46-foot skater. Everything out there is smaller than us, got the same amount of horsepower. So, you know, we had to find those extra 1 or 2 horsepower, which enabled us to stay ahead.
Did you have any problems at all?
Nah, we were smoking.
And how do you feel? Tell me.
I feel great. I feel good.
Now, after 2 races on the season for the modified class, it's Carlos and Charlie's with the perfect 204 points. And Connie's with Rodney Riddell.
All right, how was the race out there?
Racing day was fun. It was a little flatter. We normally like it. Ourselves and Pasta Chips had a fun race. That's what offshore racing's all about. We were able to run a close, tight race first couple of laps. Later on, we put a little bit more fuel to it and had a very fun race this race.
Well, you were in the lead the whole way.
Yes, this Carlos and Charlie's boat, the V-bottom, which was actually designed and built almost by our Lily, and it's running fine. It'll take a flat water racing is not its best, but rough water it will run.
How you like grabbing that flag at the end?
That's what it's all worth. I mean, it's what it's all about. We spend a lot of hours working on that boat. When that checker flag comes in, that's for my crew. That's not for us in the throttlement.
Outstanding racing to start the season, but it doesn't mean we don't have a lot more great racing ahead of us.
Lots of great races coming up. Sarasota, Florida, Chesapeake Bay, Maryland, Palm Beach, Florida, then out to Ventura, California, and ending in Las Vegas, Nevada.
For more information on how you can become a member of the American Powerboat Association, just write the address on your screen or call 810-773-9700. Do it today. Scanning the Fort Myers Beach one final time. Well, we had more boats, better competition in round 2. Outstanding speeds, Rich.
Oh, yeah, that was a very hot day, and the speeds were hot as well. It's really heating up this year. The races are tightening up, and there's more and more boats coming out for each event.
And what a festival it is in Sarasota, our next stop. Hope you can join us in person 4th of July weekend there. Art Eckman, Connie Willis, and Rich Lures. Thanks for being with us. The Fountain Powerboats APBA Offshore Series has been brought to you by Fountain Powerboats. When we race on Sunday, you win on Monday. A promotional consideration has been provided by Summerfield Suites Hotels. Summerfield Suites Hotels has over 23 locations nationwide. Check out all the places you can check in. Call 1-800-833-4353, Summerfield Suites Hotels. This has been a presentation of Production One Entertainment.